When you left here on a lovely summer's evening, you board one of the dams or something, you're up there out of it all, and you get the feeling of the ship's helm, you know, and as you're going ahead, you feel as though you're on top of the world, you're in supreme charge. And if you look at the scan to water now, as they often used to leave, within a second you could put that ship ashore, you know, if you wanted to. Often tempted mine, never did.
When I first started on the docks, I was a tea-boy on another small tug here called the Medway. And we would break off to go down for lunch, and I would go down and put the kettle on and make the tea. And you would hear down in the cabin the rotations of the propeller of the tug going by, towing this whole stream of barges. Now we could have an hour's lunch, a good hour's lunch, and come up on deck in time to see the last barge go by.
Here we are approaching the entrance of the river, South Pier on the port hand. The vessels come up through King Road from Barry, piloted up through, and the skipper, unless he's a regular trader, looks with apprehension at this broad artery up to Bristol with its narrow, tortuous bends. We're now passing the signal station on the port hand, going up through what was once the old dock. A lot of people forget this, but before the Edward Dock was built, this was the old dock where the old banana boats used to run from. Employed hundreds and hundreds of people, the White Fleet, and they certainly were. These yards would carry the weather hazards. If you were leaving port, you would see the cones denoting where the gale was going to come from. You can't imagine that today, can you? Pick your bloody phone up and you get some twit on the weather to giving you false information. They're not worth a pinch at all. At least you knew where you were in those days. You seen those cones and you went to the westward, you knew where you were going to be in trouble, but you were prepared for it. Now today, I suppose they'd have a Nimrod over your head within seconds. Idiots. Progress. The cacophony of sounds on this dock when I was a boy was just marvellous. You would have the fussy engines, hooters, the hum of the granarators, the comments, sometimes quite obscene, of the stevedores, etc., the capstans, and the whole dock. There was a sound, orchestrated sound, wonderful, wonderful, and busy. You cannot describe it now. Ah yes, and here it is, the Avon Bridge. It's now being reinforced to take all the extra traffic, another 4 lanes, adding to people's misery on both sides. Personally, if I had a bomb, I'd blow the bloody place up. But there is progress into oblivion. One day, I suppose. What the old-timers would think of beating out with their sailing cutters, I don't know. And there is also a gas main running across here. Good job the square-rig sailing ships don't come up here anymore. On the top of a spring tide, they leave their topmasts adrift up there somewhere. This is about the mile mark where we are now, you see, where we used to pull down in the old-fashioned hobbling boats, row down, and then you would chip your oars as you got near, and one of the guys would steer the vessel, scull the boat alongside the vessel. Magnificent. The Esplanade of Pill, the ancient village of mariners. Then on the starboard hand, oh dear, dear, just a moment, that abomination, the yacht club or something own it. There used to be the Waterloo Inn there. We'd sit there beneath the catgut Napoleonic clock looking for the ships coming in the river. And just round the corner from the Waterloo was the Swan, up above the Duke. What wonderful boisterous nights we'd have there. And now we go back to the apprehension of a master aboard a ship with the pilot when he looks at this awful business, the Horseshoe Bend. And just look at it. It's all right with us aboard this small tug. Could you imagine it, about 1 o'clock in the morning, a dark night, just that one probably signal light telling you where you are. And you take her in and you feel this lovely 300-foot following you around, you know, as you go around. Probably if you've got a tug slightly off the starboard bow, the one astern slightly on the port quarter, and away you go round. And, approaching Bristol, and the master would be saying, thank God for that. Unspoilt here, look, unspoilt. No New Age travellers, nothing at all. Tranquility, of course it is, it's Somerset. I came up here, the top of a big tide, you see, and it was wonderful. All the hazards of the river are gone. You were near mooring up, probably a pint in the pilot, or racing to catch the train or the bus over there to get back to Utopian Pill, which it surely is a gem compared with this dump up here, Bristol.
Did he have a dock master here now?
That's him, isn't it? That's him, isn't it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I could list off about 30 dock masters, I think, come and go. Yeah.
Are the ports low ahead?
Well, all this area here, which is now like a marina, used to be the site of Charles Hill shipbuilders. For over 200 years, they were building ships here under the hills and Hill House name. It all came to an end in the 1970s, the late 1970s. And it's now become, as you can see, a marina and a small craft building concern now. They could put 2 medium-sized ships into this dock at any one time. And if it was a smaller craft like tugs, they could get in as many as 4. For painting, scraping, and general underwater maintenance.
Oh dear. Here she is then, the Matthew.
Yeah, and the Great Britain.
Oh, I think that Great Britain is a bloody blemish, an abomination on Bristol skyline. I think that is the worst horror out of that bloody, what they call it, crematorium funnel. It is neither one thing or the other. The tragedy is, it was the last of sail and beginning of steam.
Steam, yeah.
And look at it. And she's falling to pieces, and the best thing they could do is give her a deep grave, deep 6 and sandy bottom, down in the Newcombe Buoy or somewhere like that. Bristolians should get rid of her and all the expense. Yeah, Matthew, there she lies now, probably neglected. All the publicity surrounding her at the time, now forgotten. She's not big enough for social functions. What will happen to her? Probably firewood on someone's stove. Let's hope it's mine, especially if it's cherry wood, smelling sweetly.
It was an absolutely exhilarating feeling to be a pilot you were up in a commanding position, very high up, looking down onto the harbour, the deployment of the tugs. And you were conscious of the fact that you had this multi-million-pound vessel entrusted to your care, to your responsibility. And once you'd done the whole of the manoeuvre and you turned the vessel around and very safely docked it alongside, there was no greater feeling to have the captain come up to you and say, "You've done a nice job, pilot, thank you very much." And then you would return to the captain's cabin, have a customary drink, and he would sign your ticket to say that the job had been completed to his satisfaction. And it really was, in my opinion, probably the finest job in the world. It's so bewildering in as much that when the Port of Bristol Authority eventually went out to a private company, initially I don't think anyone liked it. We like to have thought that the port was under the control of the citizens and the people of Bristol. But there is no doubt about it, they've made a tremendous success of port break, which then beggars the question, if they can make a profit and a go of it, why the hell couldn't the council in this city?
Slacker! Say when. Okay. Fast.
Although I elected to go because of the depletion in shipping, I think it was a tremendous wrench and a tremendous heartbreak to give up a job I would have been happy doing until the day I die. All right? Fine. All in.
Oh, I remember the Barry roads when I was a tugboat boy. The bustle and the hooting and the swearing and the joy. Tramps and steamers laden with fine Welsh anthracite, bound out across the ocean to keep the world alight. We came up slowly through the roads to stem against the tide, when she stole like a dream upon us with a cool, majestic pride. The old four-master Viking, deep with Australian grain, and we gaped at her and marveled as we never would again.